All right, let's welcome in now Republican strategist and host of 13-Minute News Hour, Bobby Eberle. Bobby, thanks so much for stopping by. First, your comments on this breaking news, a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. Kind of what are your takeaways?
Well, there's so much to unpack, and I'd like to start with Biden's comments at first. I'm much better at translating Kamala's word salads than Biden's mumbling lies. But everything he said, I mean, if this was on the table since May, that's a dramatic indictment of the ineffectiveness of the Biden administration. As soon as Trump's elected and as soon as he starts getting his team in place and sends Steve Witkoff over there, all of a sudden there's movement, and there's real movement. And there's a lot to dissect and a lot to criticize about this. I've studied just war theory extensively, and this was my main case study is Hamas and Israel. And in the end game for any just war is what they say is establishing right relations. And the only way you can establish right relations in this situation is, one, returning all the hostages, and two, dismantling Hamas. Because as I mentioned, you know, the Hamas charter wants the destruction of Israel. It also calls out the destruction of the Jewish people in general. So there's no way you can have right relations, or diplomatically what that means is leading to a two-state solution if Hamas is still there, an integral part. They need to be dismantled. They need to be destroyed. But the lack of Biden's sense of urgency or even sense of caring to get American hostages back that were taken from the beginning is just terrible. The lack of leadership. It showed Hamas could flex its muscles. With Trump in now, you're going to see a number of things on a number of fronts. One, with sanctions, increased sanctions against Iran, the money dries up for Hamas, Hezbollah, you name it. That leaves their negotiating power way, way down than it was before. And also just the threat, the presence of American strength. Again, we send our team in, the Trump team in, and all of a sudden we get movement. To your point earlier, though, you bring up some good points. There was 250 hostages taken. You know, maybe there's 100 or so alive, but now we're talking about the stages of 33 over 42 days. You know, it's slow playing. It's allowing Hamas to try and figure out what they're going to do about the Trump administration, but none of the signs are good for them.
Bobby, it became a just war, I think, on October 7th. When Hamas went into Israel, killed innocent people, took innocent people as hostages. And I think at that point, a lot of us who were observing it said, okay, well, the job Israel has now is eliminating Hamas. That hasn't happened.
That's right.
So, and we're even in part of the phase, I forget if it's phase 1 or 2, is humanitarian assistance to the Palestinian people in Gaza. So the whole idea that you take away, you know, put on economic sanctions and take away their ability to conduct business, we're already in this agreement saying, okay, we're going to make life better for those who are already there. And Fred Fleitz throws in the observation, if there were an election today, Hamas would be elected again. How do you deal with that situation?
And see, then that's what's extremely difficult, because if you talk about the phases, the retaliation since October 7th, what you saw every step of the way, at least in my opinion, is Israel going the extra mile to safeguard the citizens, knowing that Hamas is using them as human shields, is housing themselves in hospitals and schools, which is a direct violation of Geneva Conventions and other treaties out there. And the other problem is that, and even still, then Israel would drop leaflets. They drop these little metal balls on roofs as a signal to say, "Hey, you guys need to get out. We're coming." And even so, you know, they were criticized over and over again to make this a political issue. So, and then they bring in food, and guess what? Hamas steals that for its own troops. So and on the humanitarian side, it's extremely difficult when Hamas is still in place, knowing that they don't want to go anywhere, that they will be entrenched. And I think that's why it really needs the power of the U.S. government to force their hand.
Well, Bobby Eberle, thank you so much for stopping by and breaking down this breaking news with us.
Thank you.
All right, friends, thanks again for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And before you go, please hit that subscribe button above. Once you do, tell your friends, share it, spread the word about the 13-minute news hour so we can keep growing. And for more great content, check out these videos right here, and I'll see you next time.